Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. 3 years ago, I watched a man destroy his entire career in less than 5 minutes. Not because he was incompetent, not because he failed at his job, but because he couldn't stop talking. He was in a boardroom, facing accusations he didn't deserve. And instead of staying silent, he explained. He justified. He defended. He tried to make them understand his intentions, his reasoning, his innocence. With every word, he gave them more ammunition. With every explanation, he showed more weakness. By the time he finished talking, they had already made their decision. He was out. Later, I asked him why he didn't just stay quiet. He looked at me and said, "I thought if I explained myself, they'd see I was right." That's when I realized something most people never learn. The world doesn't respect your explanations. It respects your silence. Silence is not emptiness. It's control in its most dangerous form. When you speak, you reveal. When you explain, you expose. When you defend, you admit weakness. But when you stay silent, you become unreadable. And what cannot be read cannot be controlled. Machiavelli understood this truth 500 years ago when he wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool defends with words. The wise defend with silence. Today, you're going to learn the 8 ruthless silence tactics that separate the powerful from the powerless. These aren't just techniques. They're weapons. And once you master them, no one will ever manipulate you with words again. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who don't deserve understanding. You'll stop defending yourself to people who've already made up their minds. You'll become untouchable because silence is the ultimate form of psychological dominance. Right now, there are 2 versions of you. Version 1 talks too much, explains too often, seeks validation through words, tries to make everyone understand every decision. That version is exhausting itself, trying to control perceptions through language. Then there's version 2, the silent one, the calculated one, the one who speaks only when it serves a purpose, who lets others drown in their own assumptions, who uses pauses like weapons and absence like armor. Version 2 doesn't need to be understood. Version 2 commands respect through mystery. You've been living as version 1, and it's made you vulnerable. Every time you over-explain, you hand people the blueprint to your thoughts. Every time you defend yourself, you confirm their right to question you. Every time you fill an uncomfortable silence, you surrender psychological ground. Machiavelli once observed that men judge by the eye rather than by the hand, because everyone can see, but few can touch. What he meant was this: people respond to what they perceive, not what is real. When you're silent, they perceive strength. When you're defensive, they perceive weakness. Your words don't prove your power. Your restraint does. The moment you master silence, you shift from being controlled by circumstances to controlling how circumstances are interpreted. You stop reacting and start dominating. That's the difference between someone who gets walked over and someone who gets feared. Before we begin, I need you to commit to this transformation. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. From today, my silence is my strength. Because what you're about to learn will separate you from 95% of people who will spend their entire lives explaining themselves to people who never really listened. Let's begin with the first ruthless silence tactic. Tactic 1. Never explain yourself. The moment you start explaining your decisions, you've already surrendered your authority. Explanation is a defensive act. It reveals that you believe you need permission, that you require validation, that someone else's understanding matters more than your own conviction. This is psychological suicide. When you explain, you're essentially saying, "Please approve of my choice." And the moment you ask for approval, you give others power to withhold it. Powerful people don't explain. They decide and move forward. Their silence on the matter communicates a clear message. This is not up for discussion. This is not seeking your input. This has been decided. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." Commanding requires certainty, not justification. When you constantly explain yourself, you train people to question you. They learn that your decisions are negotiable, that your boundaries are suggestions, that if they push hard enough, you'll crumble into explanation, which always weakens your position. Think about the most powerful people you know. Do they explain every decision? Do they justify their choices to everyone who asks? Never. They make decisions, and the world adjusts. Their silence forces others to either accept or leave. That's dominance. When someone questions your decision, you have 2 choices: explain and appear uncertain. or stay silent and appear absolute. The silence communicates, I don't need your understanding to proceed. That discomfort they feel, that's power shifting in your favor. They're waiting for your defense. When you don't provide it, they have nothing to argue against. Silence kills confrontation faster than any argument. Every explanation you give is a crack in your armor. People analyze your reasoning looking for flaws. They use your own words to undermine your position. But when you give them nothing, they have nothing to attack. Your silence becomes a wall they cannot penetrate. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I owe no one an explanation. Tactic 2. Let others fill the void. Silence is uncomfortable. Most people cannot tolerate it. When you stay quiet, they start talking. And when they talk, they reveal everything. This is the secret weapon of interrogators, negotiators, and master manipulators throughout history. They know that silence creates psychological pressure. People feel compelled to fill the emptiness. And in their rush to fill it, they expose their thoughts, motives, insecurities, and weaknesses. Machiavelli recognized that information is power. The one who knows more controls more. By staying silent, you become the observer while others become the exposed. You're gathering intelligence while they're surrendering it. Every word they speak to fill your silence is data you can use. You learn how they think, what they fear, what they want, all without revealing anything about yourself. This tactic works in every scenario. In conversations, when someone says something that's meant to provoke you, stay silent. Don't defend. Don't argue. Just look at them calmly and wait. The discomfort of that silence will pressure them to keep talking. They'll over-explain. They'll backtrack. They'll reveal that their initial statement was insecure projection. Your silence exposed them without you saying a word. In negotiations, silence is leverage. When someone makes an offer, don't immediately respond. Let the silence hang. They'll start second-guessing. They'll sweeten the deal. They'll reveal their desperation. All because you refuse to fill the void. Your stillness communicated that you're not impressed, not desperate, not moved. That's dominance. In conflicts, silence is devastation. When someone attacks you with words, trying to provoke emotional reaction, give them nothing. No anger, no defense, no justification. Just cold, quiet observation. That silence will unsettle them more than any comeback. Machiavelli wrote that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men around him. But the deeper truth is this. Intelligence is revealed not by what you say, but by what you don't. Foolish people fill every silence with noise because they fear judgment. Wise people let silence do the heavy lifting. They know that in the absence of their words, others will project their own fears and assumptions. And those projections reveal far more than any conversation could. When you master this tactic, you stop being the one who speaks and start being the one who knows. You listen more than you talk. You observe more than you explain. And in that observation, you gather the information that makes you untouchable. People will speak freely around you because your silence makes them comfortable. They'll forget you're even listening. And that's when they tell you everything you need to know. From now on, practice strategic silence. When someone speaks, let them finish. Then wait 3 seconds before responding. In those 3 seconds, they'll often add more information. Information they didn't plan to share. Information that gives you advantage. That pause is your power. The void you create is their trap. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence reveals their truth. Tactic 3. Speak only when it adds value. Most people talk because they're uncomfortable with silence. Because they want attention. Because they need validation. But ruthless minds speak only when their words create advantage. Every sentence you utter should serve a purpose. If it doesn't strengthen your position, clarify your intent, or command respect, it's wasted energy. Machiavelli observed that wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. The difference between these two is everything. One controls the room through precision. The other pollutes it with noise. When you speak rarely, your words carry weight. People lean in when you talk because they know you don't waste breath on meaningless commentary. That rarity makes you magnetic. Think about meetings, conversations, or group settings. There's always someone who talks constantly, filling every pause, offering opinions on everything, trying to be heard. And there's always someone who barely speaks, but when they do, the entire room goes quiet. Which one commands respect? The one who waits, who observes, who speaks only when they have something that shifts the dynamic. That's the person everyone remembers. When you speak all the time, you become background noise. Predictable. Forgettable. People stop listening because they know you'll say something eventually anyway. But when you're selective, every word becomes an event. They don't know when you'll speak next, so when you do, it matters. This tactic requires discipline. You must resist the urge to prove yourself through words. To show how smart you are by always contributing. To fill silence because it makes you anxious. That anxiety is weakness. Ruthless silence is strength. You speak when your words will change an outcome. When they'll reveal something others missed. When they'll position you as the authority. Otherwise, you observe. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. My words are weapons I use wisely. Tactic 4. Use pauses as weapons. Timing is everything. The pause before you speak is often more powerful than the words themselves. When someone asks you a question, don't rush to answer. Let silence sit. Let them feel the weight of waiting. That pause communicates several things simultaneously. 1. You're not reactive. 2. You're considering carefully. 3. You're not intimidated by their question. 4. Your answer will be deliberate. All of this happens in seconds without you saying a word. The pause is psychological warfare. It makes the other person uncomfortable. They start wondering if they asked the wrong thing. If they offended you. If you're about to say something devastating. That uncertainty gives you control. Machiavelli understood that perception is reality. When you pause before speaking, you appear wise, thoughtful, in command. When you answer immediately, you appear reactive, eager to please, easily controlled. The world respects the former and exploits the latter. Great leaders throughout history mastered the strategic pause. They would let questions hang in the air. Let demands go unanswered for just long enough to make the asker squirm. Then, when they finally responded, their words carried the weight of deliberation. That pause made their answer feel absolute, non-negotiable, final. In confrontations, the pause is devastation. When someone insults you or tries to provoke you, don't react. Just look at them. Hold eye contact. Let 3 full seconds pass. Then respond with calm precision or say nothing at all. That pause murders their confidence. They expected immediate reaction, anger, defensiveness. When you give them cold silence instead, they realize their words have no power. In negotiations, pauses create pressure. When someone makes an offer, pause. Let them sit in their own proposal. Don't fill the silence with acceptance or rejection. Just wait. That silence will make them nervous. They'll start questioning if their offer was good enough. They'll often improve it before you even respond. Your pause forced them to negotiate against themselves. In personal relationships, pauses communicate boundaries. When someone asks for something unreasonable, pause. Don't immediately explain why you can't do it. Just let silence communicate that the request itself is problematic. That pause says more than any explanation could. It tells them they've crossed a line without you having to state it explicitly. The practical application is simple. Train yourself to pause for 3 seconds before responding to any question or comment. 3 seconds feels like an eternity in conversation, but it's the sweet spot. Long enough to create impact, short enough to not seem unnatural. In those 3 seconds, you reclaim power. You move from reactive to responsive. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. My pauses create power. Tactic 5. Silence after disrespect. When someone disrespects you, your instinct is to defend yourself, to correct them, to put them in their place with words. But this is exactly what weak people do. They react emotionally, and in that reaction, they confirm their own insecurity. The ruthless respond differently, with silence. Cold, calculated, permanent silence. Not because they're afraid of confrontation, but because silence is the most devastating response to disrespect. It communicates something words never could. You're not even worth my energy. Machiavelli understood that the greatest punishment is not violence or vengeance. It's indifference. When you respond to disrespect with words, you're giving the disrespectful person what they wanted. Your attention, your emotional reaction, proof that they affected you. But when you respond with silence, you deny them everything. Here's what actually happens when you stay silent after being disrespected. First, the disrespectful person feels awkward. They expected engagement. When you give them nothing, they're left holding their own poison. Second, observers see your composure and their lack of it. In any public setting, the person who remains calm while being attacked looks strong. The attacker looks desperate. Third, your silence becomes a form of exile. You've removed them from your world without announcing it. They'll feel that absence. An absence from someone who doesn't chase is punishment. This is not about being petty. It's about teaching people that disrespecting you has a cost. That cost is losing access to you. And when you're someone of value, that loss is significant. People learn quickly. Those who disrespect you and receive silence will either apologize or exit your life. Either outcome benefits you. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. Disrespect earns my silence forever. Tactic 6. Never defend, just disappear. Defense is admission of guilt in the court of public opinion. The moment you start defending yourself, you've accepted the premise that you need to. You've given your accuser power to put you on trial. And trials are exhausting even when you win. The ruthless don't defend. They disappear. They remove themselves from the equation entirely, leaving accusers shouting into a void. This tactic is psychological devastation. When you defend, you engage. You give your accuser ammunition. Every word you say can be twisted, misinterpreted, used against you. But when you simply vanish, you give them nothing. No reaction, no explanation, no presence, just absence. And that absence screams confidence. Machiavelli observed that it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But there's a third option, he implied: to be forgotten by those who don't matter. When you disappear from someone's narrative, you remove their ability to affect yours. They can talk, they can accuse, they can spread rumors. But if you're not there to engage, their words lose power. People tire quickly of one-sided attacks. When the target refuses to participate, the attacker eventually looks obsessed and foolish. Your absence makes their accusations hollow. Think about the last time you saw someone desperately trying to defend themselves publicly. How did it look? Weak, desperate, like they were losing even if they were telling the truth. Because defense is inherently a position of weakness. You're reacting to someone else's narrative instead of creating your own. The practical application requires courage. When someone attacks your character, your first instinct will be to clear your name, to explain what really happened, to gather evidence and witnesses. Don't. Just leave. If it's online, don't respond. If it's in person, exit the conversation. If it's in your social circle, reduce your presence in that circle. Your silence and absence will do more for your reputation than any defense could. Here's why. People who know you will already doubt the accusation. Your character speaks for itself. People who don't know you will judge you regardless of your defense. So defending yourself only benefits the accuser by giving them a platform. When you disappear, you deny them that platform. You make yourself the mystery. And mysteries are always more intriguing than explanations. This tactic also protects your energy. Defending yourself is exhausting. It consumes time, emotion, focus. The ruthless know that your energy is your most valuable resource. Wasting it on people who've already shown their hostility is strategic suicide. Disappear. Protect your peace. Let your life speak. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I defend nothing. I just disappear. Tactic 7. Master the art of non-reaction. Emotional reaction is the currency manipulators trade in. They say something designed to trigger you. You react. They use your reaction against you. This cycle continues until you're exhausted and they're in control. The solution is simple but brutally difficult. Master non-reaction. Become someone who processes emotion internally but displays nothing externally. This is the ultimate form of power because it makes you completely unreadable and therefore uncontrollable. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of control is often more important than control itself. When you appear unshaken, people believe you're unshakable. And that belief changes how they interact with you. They become cautious, respectful, sometimes fearful, because they can't find your buttons to push. Non-reaction doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't broadcast what you feel. Internally, you might be angry, hurt, frustrated, disappointed. Externally, you're calm water, smooth surface, no ripples. That disconnect between internal experience and external presentation is what makes you dangerous. People expect emotional honesty. When you give them strategic composure instead, they can't manipulate you. Think about the last time someone tried to make you angry. They said something inflammatory, insulting, designed to provoke. What did they want? Your anger. Because angry people are stupid. They say things they regret. They make decisions they wouldn't make calm. They expose their weaknesses. When you react emotionally, you hand your opponent exactly what they need to defeat you. But when you don't react, When you hear the insult and your face doesn't change. When you process the provocation and simply continue as if nothing happened. That's when they panic. The practical application of non-reaction requires training. You must condition yourself to pause between stimulus and response. Someone says something designed to trigger you. That's the stimulus. Before you respond, pause. Count to 3. Breathe. Decide what response serves you best. Often, the best response is none. Just a calm look and continued focus on whatever you were doing. This pause creates space between you and your emotions. You're no longer your anger. You're the one observing your anger. That observation creates control. Machiavelli believed that the greatest strength is self-control. When you master non-reaction, you eliminate your greatest internal weakness. Your emotional predictability. You become a fortress. People can throw whatever they want at your walls. You don't crumble. You don't even shake. You just stand, unmoved. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I feel everything. I show nothing. Tactic 8. Your absence is your answer. The final and most ruthless silence tactic is this. When people don't deserve your presence, your absence becomes the only answer they need. No explanation. No farewell. No closure. Just disappearance. This is the ultimate power move because it cannot be argued with. You can't negotiate with someone who's not there. You can't manipulate someone who's gone. You can't control someone who's removed you from their world. Your absence is a statement louder than any words. Machiavelli observed that sometimes the wisest response is no response at all. When you disappear from someone's life without explanation, you communicate everything. You're not worth my words. You're not worth my time. You're not worth my energy. That implicit message cuts deeper than any explicit conversation could. Most people feel obligated to explain why they're leaving, to have the closure conversation, to make sure the other person understands why the relationship is ending. But that's weakness disguised as maturity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. When someone has shown you through their actions that they don't value you, your absence is the only response needed. The practical application is simple but emotionally difficult. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, uses you, takes you for granted, or crosses your boundaries despite being told not to, don't confront them one more time. Don't send the long text explaining how they hurt you. Don't have the final conversation where you detail everything they did wrong. Just go. Block. Delete. Disappear. Let your absence be their answer. Here's what happens when you do this. Initially, they might not notice. They're so used to your presence being available that they don't register your absence immediately. Then they realize you're gone. They'll try to reach out. They'll want to know what happened. They'll want the explanation you're not giving. This is where most people break. They see the messages and feel obligated to respond, to explain, to give closure. Don't. Your silence is the closure. Let them sit with the confusion of your absence. Let them wonder what they did. Let them realize that their access to you is never guaranteed. That absence will teach them a lesson words never could. Some might call this ghosting. But ghosting implies you disappeared for no reason. This is different. This is strategic absence after repeated boundary violations. This is protecting yourself from people who've proven they don't respect you. The key is permanence. If you disappear, stay gone. Don't come back after they apologize. Don't let them sweet-talk their way back into your life. Your absence must be final to be effective. Otherwise, you're training them that they can violate your boundaries and you'll always come back. That's not ruthless. That's being a doormat with extra steps. When you master this final tactic, you become someone people are afraid to lose. Because they know once you're gone, you're gone. No explanations. No second chances. No reconciliations. Just permanent absence. That fear makes them treat you better. And those who don't, they lose access. Either way, you win. Machiavelli wrote that the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool explains why they're leaving and gives the other person a chance to manipulate them into staying. The wise simply leave. No drama. No explanation. No second chances. Just absence. Now I want you to drop this final affirmation in the comments. My absence speaks louder than my words. These 8 ruthless silence tactics work together as a complete system. Never explaining yourself establishes authority. Letting others fill the void gives you information. Speaking only when it adds value makes your words powerful. Using pauses as weapons creates psychological pressure. Silence after disrespect punishes boundary violations. Never defending, just disappearing protects your energy. Mastering non-reaction makes you unreadable, and your absence becoming your answer ensures your boundaries have teeth. When you implement all 8, people start treating you differently, not because you demanded respect through words, but because your silence commanded it. You become the person everyone is careful around, not because you're aggressive, but because you're controlled. And controlled people are dangerous. They can't be provoked, can't be read, can't be manipulated. Machiavelli's entire philosophy can be summarized in one principle. Power belongs to those who control themselves first. These silence tactics are tools of self-control. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you're choosing power over impulsiveness. Every time you disappear instead of defend, you're choosing strategy over ego. Every time you pause instead of respond immediately, you're choosing dominance over submission. The world will test you constantly. People will try to provoke you into breaking your silence. They'll push your boundaries trying to get the reaction you used to give. They'll be uncomfortable with your new composure and try to crack it. This is when you must be most ruthless. Because the moment you break, the moment you explain or defend or react emotionally, you've lost all the ground you gained. Consistency is everything. Your silence must be absolute. Your disappearances must be permanent. Your non-reactions must be unwavering. That consistency is what builds your reputation as someone who cannot be touched. Let me tell you what your life looks like 6 months from now if you implement these tactics consistently. You stop wasting energy on people who don't deserve it. You stop having exhausting arguments because you don't engage. You stop feeling the need to be understood by everyone because you're comfortable being misunderstood. You stop chasing closure because you realize your absence was the closure. Your relationships improve because the people who remain are those who respect your boundaries. The toxic ones filtered themselves out when they realized you weren't going to tolerate their behavior. Your mental peace becomes your greatest achievement because you're no longer disturbed by every opinion, insult, or criticism. Your silence protected you from all of it. Your professional life transforms because you're no longer the person who gets drawn into office politics or arguments. You're the calm presence everyone notices, the one whose rare words carry weight, the one whose absence is felt more than others' presence. Your personal power multiplies because you're conserving energy instead of leaking it through emotional reactions and unnecessary explanations. That conserved energy gets redirected into building the life you actually want instead of defending the life you have. Machiavelli once wrote that the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Today, you are choosing to be wise. You're choosing to implement these tactics now instead of learning their value after years of being manipulated and controlled by others. That choice makes you dangerous in the best possible way. But I need to warn you, this transformation will cost you some relationships. People who've been taking advantage of your emotional availability will not like the new silent you. They'll call you cold, arrogant, changed. Let them. Their discomfort is proof that you're doing it right. You're no longer an easy target. And predators always complain when prey becomes dangerous. The ones who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They'll adapt to your new energy. They'll appreciate your silence because they understand it's not rejection. It's self-respect. Those are the relationships worth keeping. Remember, becoming ruthless through silence doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a protected person. It makes you someone who values their peace enough to guard it. Someone who understands that not every battle requires words. Someone who knows when absence speaks louder than presence. Machiavelli's wisdom has survived 500 years because it's based on human nature. And human nature hasn't changed. People still test, still manipulate, still try to control through provocation. But with these 8 tactics, you're no longer vulnerable to any of it. You've built a fortress of silence around your peace. And that fortress is untouchable. If this video showed you how to reclaim your power through silence, hit that like button right now. If you know someone who needs to learn these tactics, someone who's being manipulated because they talk too much, explain too much, react too much, share this video with them. You might save them years of unnecessary pain. Subscribe to this channel because mastering silence is just one piece of becoming psychologically dominant. Every video on this channel gives you another weapon in your arsenal. Another tactic to make you stronger, smarter, and impossible to break. Before you go, I want you to commit. Drop this final declaration in the comments. From this moment, I am untouchable through silence. Say it, mean it, live it, because silence isn't weakness. It's the ultimate weapon. and you now know exactly how to wield it. The world tried to break you with words. You will become immune through silence. They tried to control you with provocation. You will become unreadable through non-reaction. They tried to keep you engaged. You will disappear without explanation. This is your evolution. From someone who reacts to everything to someone who responds to nothing unless it serves them. From someone who explains constantly to someone whose silence is their statement. From someone who can be manipulated to someone who is absolutely, completely, ruthlessly untouchable. Welcome to your new reality. You are no longer the person who breaks. You are the silence that cannot be broken.